Okay, good morning, everyone. Welcome. It's a pleasure to be your first speaker. Like many of you in the audience, I have had the luxury of traveling the world. How many of you hold a passport, are world travelers, have seen some of the amazing sights that this world has to offer? I assume everyone here. For me, I'm from the States, but my father is Scottish, so I've personally had a passport since I was 6 months old. And I've been traveling since then, so about 20 years. But one of the things I've learned through my travels is we learn so much about ourselves, what we like, what we enjoy, and I realized that I have a strong affinity for architecture. So through my travels, I've realized that I have an affinity for architecture. I love buildings, I love structures. And this comes from traveling and being able to see such amazing things like the Tour Eiffel, the London Bridge, the Colosseum. Architecture is amazing, and it blows my mind to see the types of structures that we build. But one of the things I've also learned through my love of architecture is there's something very specific about buildings that I love. It's in this picture, and this picture, and this picture, and this picture. What is in all of these pictures? What can we see that is a part of each of these structures? Anybody know?
Scaffolding.
Yeah, that's right, scaffolding. So scaffolding, loosely defined, is the structure that we put on the outside of a building to help us build it up. This is a critical piece of technology that without we would not be able to build the structures that we have today. Now, do I have any other scaffold lovers in the audience? Yay. Okay, good. I'm not the only one. Okay, so let's take a moment and go back to traveling. I personally have been going to Turkey since 2001. And how many of you have been to Hagia Sophia in Istanbul? Any Istanbul travelers? Okay, great. So one of the things that I really love about this building is not only is it ancient, has it been both a church and a mosque, it's also 1,500 years old. And since I've been going there, so for the last 14 years, they've been renovating the interior of this structure. So here, you can see that they actually have scaffolding inside the building. And I've always just been blown away. Every time I walk in, not only am I impressed by the structure, the scaffolding blows my mind as well, because it's so large. It shows you not only how tall this structure is, but the idea that even those buildings that are as timeless as time need to be updated and refitted so that they are modern and up to date. Now, some of my traveling companions have said that this is ugly, that this hides the beauty of the structure. And I couldn't disagree more. I think it's amazing to see how these things get built. Now, those of you who have a background in education might also know this term scaffolding, but might consider it from a different perspective. How many of you know scaffolding from an educational perspective? Assume some of you, definitely. I'll stop doing my sailor look, because it looks strange. Now, let's go back to buildings for a second. The purpose of scaffolding is that it allows us to build buildings that we couldn't build with our hands alone, right? So if we take a minute and we consider, if we didn't have scaffolding, what kind of structures could we build? Okay, I could definitely build this with a ladder, maybe. I could build this. This I don't think needs scaffolding. Okay, definitely, I could build this without scaffolding, right? The idea being is that without scaffolding, we are not able to build structures to the size that we are. A great example of this is here in Dubai. How many of you are familiar with Burj Khalifa? Yeah? So here's a picture of it being built. What do you know about Burj Khalifa? I'm sure all of you know that it is the tallest building in the world. It's 163 stories, and there is no way that a building of this size and scope could be built without scaffolding. It's incredibly impressive. And it's so tall that those of you who've been at the top, you actually feel it kind of sway, which is unnerving, but I trust that the scaffolding was sound. So how does this apply to you? Have I gotten lost on my way to TED Talk construction? No. Right? Just like Burj Khalifa is the tallest building in the world with scaffolding, so can you reach your utmost potential, understanding the principles of scaffolding. Yeah? So we're going to go back to education for a minute. Scaffolding in education is the idea that with an expert's help, with someone's support, you can achieve things that you could not achieve alone, right? So in education, what we do as teachers is we provide this support. We guide our students, scaffold our students so that they can practice and develop skills that they could not alone. But just like physical scaffolding, the idea is that at the end of the day, the student will have acquired this skill and then be able to achieve or complete this task without support. If the scaffolding is removed and the student is unable to complete the task or do the activity alone, it means that A, the student is still learning the task and needs continued support, or that the scaffolding didn't properly scaffold that student into the next level of achievement or learning. Now, this is a very powerful idea. How does this connect to you? Are you supposed to hang out like Eric Carlisle's Hungry Caterpillar, just sit there, wait to be scaffolded, wait for someone to build you up into a beautiful butterfly? No, absolutely not. The idea is when we're working with young learners, they're not aware of this technique. They don't understand scaffolding. But all of us in this room are intelligent, cognizant beings who can participate in this process. And this is why it's such a powerful idea. The idea is that we can build ourselves. We can turn ourselves into a butterfly. If we have goals, if we have skills that we would like to learn, experiences that we would like to have, we can actively seek out the people who will help us achieve that, get to that next level, learn that skill. That's a very, very powerful idea. To bring in some learning theory, one way we can look at this is through this model. This is known as the zone of proximal development, or as we cool teachers like to call it, ZPD. Now, just as when you're building a building, the scaffolding is one story above, so too must your support be. So the idea is you have this area that you can accomplish without help, and then there's the area you can accomplish with support, with scaffolding. And the key is to be able to find someone who can assist you, support you, scaffold you until you acquire the skill and move into the next level of knowledge, experience, whatever it may be. Now, the danger is that if you ask someone for support or scaffolding and they're too far above you, they don't know how to break it down for you in a way that really allows you to grow and develop that skill with their support. Another model is one from linguistics. This is Krashen's theory. The idea is that we are all at this level I. And when we're looking for input, when we're looking for support, it should be at the level of I plus 1. The idea being that if we're at I, we need that extra level, that extra story to build us up. Now, obviously, as your skills develop, so too will your input, and so too then will be the skills that you acquire. Now, this is all very theoretical, but what's a specific way that you can do this? A specific way that you can build yourself is through mentoring. Now, mentoring is defined as finding someone who can help guide you, who can help you set goals, who can direct you to the specific skills that you need to acquire so that you learn and develop. It's also very critical that we support and mentor those around us so that we're all building and we're all growing and developing. Now, I'm going to take it back and tell you an experience I had with this. So in 2002, I moved to Turkey to teach English. It was the first time I moved out of the theory of a classroom into a real-life teaching environment. And any teacher in here can tell you that the experience of being ready to teach, having read all the theories, practiced a little bit, and then walking into your own classroom is overwhelming. Never mind that I was in a classroom environment that was outside of my language, my culture. I also found that Turkish students could be harsh critics. I was told everything from, I must have eaten too much because my pants looked really tight today, to my drawings weren't good. Is that a cow? What is that? To my English pronunciation was wrong. I was told that it's dog, not dog, as my American accent would indicate. And this was kindergarten, so it's a pretty tough crowd. And I laugh about it here on stage, but it was actually very, very difficult. Every day I left the class feeling like a failure. Every day I wondered, how do I do this? How do I teach these students English? And how do I develop my own skills? Now, one of the hardest things about this idea is asking for support, asking someone to scaffold us. Because sometimes we believe that if we don't know something, that indicates our own lack of knowledge, or it reflects poorly on us. But this is a false belief, and it's self-limiting, and it prevents us from being greater than we are. And so it's very difficult to sometimes ask for the support and to acknowledge that we need scaffolding, that we need someone to help us to the next level. So what I did is I approached my Turkish colleagues and I admitted that I was struggling in the classroom. And they were amazing. They came into my classroom. They gave me feedback. Apparently, I wasn't being strict enough. They allowed me into their classroom and let me watch them teach. I learned so much from my colleagues, and I also learned that it's okay to be scaffolded, to ask for support and to ask for help. And when we do open ourselves up to this idea of building with support, we grow in unexpected ways. Now, not only do I wear skirts, so you don't know how much I ate, I also actually don't even try to draw, because I'm a pretty bad artist. But I am also a fluent Turkish speaker, and I bring those lessons that I learned not only from my colleagues, but about myself into every classroom that I go into. So it was a really profound and life-changing experience for me to open myself up to this kind of scaffolding. Now, the last point I want to make is not all scaffolding is the same. Now, imagine if we have scaffolding that is not sound, that does not help us grow in the ways that will build us up, but instead will truncate our growth. Imagine if Burj Khalifa had stopped here. Imagine if the scaffolding had not been as strong as it was. What this means is that we have a responsibility not only to seek scaffolding out, but to seek out the kind of guidance and support that will build us in the ways that we want to be built. That's ethical, that's moral. These are important ideas. So when you're looking for a person to scaffold you, you need to ask yourself, how do I want to build up? Where do I see myself? What kind of person do I want to be? Because these are all parts of the scaffolding process. Do we want to build up like this? I don't know. I don't know, this maybe, a little twisted? Maybe a little Lord of the Rings? No? So it's critical that when you're seeking out support, you're seeking out scaffolding, that you do so mindfully so that you're supported in ways that will build you into something amazing. To end, I hope that you take a moment next time you're out and you're traveling, and if you have a traveling companion who says, oh, look at all of this scaffolding, gross, it's so ugly, that you stop them and you say, no, it's so beautiful. Look at what we're building. Look at what we can do with support. Because remember, it's either scaffold into a butterfly or hang out as a chubby caterpillar. Thank you so much.